you all are fit and fine at your places. I'm Priyanka Bish from Arden Progressive School. Today in this session, we'll be continuing with the topic of Chapter 1, which is Introduction to Accounting. In the previous class, we have studied about the bookkeeping, accountancy, accounting, also the role of accounting, branches of accounting, etc. So here we'll be studying some basic accounting terms which is very necessary before solving the numerical questions. So these terms are basic accounting terminology which will help you to understand about the basic concept of accounting and which is also helpful in solving the numerical questions. So we'll start with the very first accounting term, which is business transaction. Now, business transaction is a transaction. It involves an economic activity of the business that changes its financial position. So here, economic activity, we know any activity which is carried with the motive of earning money or profit is known as economic activity. So whenever the economic activity takes place in a business, we call it as business transaction. So whenever any business transaction takes place, it results in change in the value of capital, assets and liabilities of the organization. Now, if we talk about the transaction, so transaction involves economic activity. For example, when goods are purchased or sold for cash or on credit, or when the salaries are paid to employees, or when interest is paid on money borrowed from the bank, a business transaction takes place. Why? Because economic activity is being carried on. We are paying salary to employees, it is involving cash. We are purchasing goods for cash, so there is a transaction taking place where cash transaction is involved. So here this is also an economic activity. If we take the other example, such as if X purchases a gift for his friend, so it will not be considered as transaction. Why? Because it is a social engagement. It is not an economic activity. Second is transactions may be classified into two types. First is external transaction. Second is internal transaction. External transactions are those transactions which involves economic activity between two independent business activities, where two businesses are involving economic activity, such as purchase or sale of goods between the two organizations. And internal activities or internal transactions are those economic activities that take place entirely within one business entity, where all the activities are taking place in an organization only. For example, depreciation is charged on fixed assets. This is an example of internal transaction. Next term is capital. So capital refers to the amount invested by the proprietor. Proprietor is the owner of the business. So amount invested by the proprietor in a business enterprise is known as capital. This amount may be in the form of cash, goods or assets. It is the amount with the help of which goods and assets are purchased in the business. So it is clear the amount with which the proprietor is starting a business is known as capital, and this capital can be in the form of cash with the help of which the businessman is starting the business, and with that cash the businessman can purchase assets and goods for the business. Now capital is also known as owner's equity or net worth or net asset. Now next is drawings. So drawing is any cash or value of goods withdrawn by the owner for personal use, or any private payments made out of business funds are called drawings. So if a businessman is withdrawing some amount from the business fund for his personal use, it will be considered as drawings. Next term is liabilities. Now liability refers to the amount which the firm owes to outsider. So here, if the firm has taken some loan from the outsider, so that amount will be considered as liability for the business firm. The liability is always equal to assets minus capital. Now when a firm purchases goods on credit from A, the amount owing to A is a liability. When a bank account is overdrawn, the amount owing to the bank, that is bank overdraft, is also known as liability. Now liabilities may also be divided into two parts. First is internal liability. Internal liability means all the amount which a business entity has to pay to the proprietor or the owner are internal liabilities. Now see, the owner and the business, they both are separate entity. Owner is a different thing and the business is a different thing. Now here, if the owner is starting the business with some amount, it is assumed that the owner has paid the amount to the business, and this amount is considered as liability for the business firm, as here this amount is to be paid by the firm to the owner. So as owner is granting the loan to the business, that is why it is considered as internal liability for the firm, because this transaction is taking place between the owner and the business, and owner is a part of the business, so it is considered as internal liability. Now if we talk about external liability, so all the amounts which a business entity has to pay to the outsiders are known as external liabilities. Outsiders can be bank or creditors. So if the firm has taken some loan from the bank or from the creditors, this amount will be considered as external liabilities for the business firm. Now, liabilities may be further classified into two parts. First is non-current liabilities. Now these are the amount, or these refers to those liabilities which fall due for the payment in a relatively long period, normally after more than 1 year. So non-current liabilities means the amount which is to be paid by the firm to the outsiders in the time duration of more than 1 year. That is non-current liability. For example, long-term loans taken by the firm from the banks is considered as non-current liability. Second, we have current liability. So these refer to those liabilities which are to be paid in a near future, normally within 1 year. So non-current liabilities include those amount which is to be paid by the firm within 1 year to the outsider. It is considered as current liability. For example, creditors, amount paid to the creditors is considered as current liability. Short-term loans taken by the bank is considered as current liabilities. Next term is asset. So here, anything which enable a business enterprise to get a cash or a benefit in future is an asset. So in other words, we can say anything which will enable a business enterprise to get cash or a benefit in future is an asset. Asset is basically anything which is converted into cash. So examples of assets can be cash and bank balances, furniture, machinery. Cash and bank balances, we know bank balance can be converted into cash. We can convert our deposit into cash by withdrawing the money from the ATM. So it is an example of asset, because here also our deposited amount is being converted into cash. Furniture, machinery, land and building, these are the assets which gives the future profit. So here, by using these assets we get future benefit. Assets may be divided into the following categories. First is non-current assets. So here, non-current assets refers to those assets which are held for continued use in business for the purpose of producing goods or services and which are not meant for sale. So here, non-current assets includes those assets which gives the future benefits. As we have already discussed, plant and machinery, land and building, these are some non-current assets which gives the benefit in future. Now non-current assets are further classified into two parts. First is tangible assets and second is intangible assets. So tangible, we know anything which we can see or touch, that is tangible. The tangible assets are those assets which can be seen and purchased, in other words which have a physical existence. The tangible assets here can be machinery, computer, furniture, motor vehicle, etc. These are some tangible assets. Now intangible assets means these are the assets which do not have physical existence and thus they cannot be seen or felt. Only their presence can be felt. Example can be goodwill. Goodwill is basically a reputation of the firm. So if the reputation of a firm increases, it gives us the future benefit. So it is an intangible assets. We cannot see it, but yes, we can feel it. Next is patents, copyright, trademarks, computer software, etc. All these are examples of intangible assets. It should be clear that tangible assets and intangible assets, they both come in the category of non-current assets. Non-current assets which gives the future benefit, that is considered as non-current assets. Now the next category of asset is current asset. So here current assets refers to those assets which are meant for sale or which the management would want to convert into cash within 1 year. As such, these assets are also termed as short-lived or active asset. So here current asset means anything which is converted into cash and which are meant for sale. For example, stock. Stock is considered as current asset because it is continuously sold, and bill receivable are also converted into cash. So these are some example of current assets. Now current assets are also known as floating assets or circulating asset, as the amount or nature of such asset keeps changing continuously. Now if we talk about prepaid expenses. So prepaid expenses are those expenses which are paid in advance. It will never be realized in cash. These are also included in current asset. So prepaid expenses, we know it cannot be converted into cash because we have already paid these expenses in advance. So why these are considered as current assets? These are considered as current assets because we know it cannot be converted into cash, but its benefit will be available again these without further payment, and these benefits can be for the time duration of within 1 year. So within 1 year we can get the benefit of all the prepaid expenses which we have paid in advance. That is why it is considered as current asset, because we are getting the advantage of prepaid expenses within 1 year. Anything which can be converted into cash within a period of 1 year is considered as current assets, or the benefit which we are getting within 1 year is also considered as current assets. Now, there are some fictitious or nominal assets also. This is the third category of assets. First was current asset, second was non-current asset, and third is fictitious or nominal assets. So here, these are the assets which cannot be realized in cash, or no further benefit can be derived from these assets. Now next we have expenditure. So expenditure means any disbursement of cash or transfer of property or incurring a liability for the purpose of acquiring assets, goods or services is called expenditure. So anything which we are spending to purchase assets, goods or services is called expenditure for us. So it means that any type of payment for the receipt of a benefit is termed as expenditure. Now expenditure may be classified into three categories. First is capital expenditure. Capital expenditure means any expenditure which is incurred in acquiring or increasing the value of a fixed asset is termed as capital expenditure. So if we are spending for acquiring the fixed asset, it is called capital expenditure. For example, if we are spending some money for the purchase of building, plant, furniture, etc., it will be considered as capital expenditure. Second, we have revenue expenditure. So here, any expenditure the full benefit of which is received during one accounting period is termed as revenue expenditure, such as cost of goods sold, salaries, rent, electricity, etc. So here we can say that any expenditure which is spent in purchasing the goods for the purpose of resale, it is considered as revenue expenditure. So by selling these goods within a time duration of 1 year will be considered as revenue expenditure. Third type of expenditure is deferred revenue expenditure. So there are certain expenditures which are revenue in nature, but the benefit of which is likely to be derived over number of years. Such expenditures are considered as deferred revenue expenditure. So these are the expenditures which are revenue in nature. Revenue in nature means these expenditures are spent on the things which can be converted into cash, or which is for which the benefit we can get in 1 year. But in this, we are spending money in purchasing such items and whose benefit can be get in the near future also. So it is revenue as well as capital in nature. Next we have expenses. So expenses is the cost incurred in producing and selling the goods and services. In other words, we can say expense is the cost of use of things or the services for the purpose of generating revenue. So here we are spending in such items which can be converted into cash or which is helpful in generating revenue, that is expenses. The following items are included in terms expenses: cost of goods sold, amount paid for rent, commission, salary, advertisement, etc. All these are included in expenses. Next we have income. So income is different from revenue. Amount received from sale of good is called revenue and the cost of goods sold is called expense. So surplus of revenue over expense is called income. We'll understand this concept with an example. For example, if the goods costing rupees 4 lakh are sold for rupees 5 lakh. So here the cost of good is 4 lakh which is sold for rupees 5 lakh. Sale amounting to rupees 5 lakh is the revenue and the cost amounting to rupees 4 lakh is expense. So here the difference between two is rupees 1 lakh. Here the difference between cost and revenue is 1 lakh which will be considered as income. So by this we can conclude that surplus of revenue over expense is called income. Now next we have profit. So profit is the excess of total revenue over total expense of a business enterprise for an accounting period is known as profit. Profit means when the total revenue exceeds the total expenses of the business, then we can say the firm has gained profit. Now profit increases the investment of the owners also. Next accounting term we have gain. So gain means basically it is a monetary benefit, profit or advantage resulting from events or transaction which are incidental to business, such as sale of fixed assets, winning a court case, appreciation in the value of an asset. All these are example of gain. We can take an example also. If a building costing rupees 10 lakh is sold for rupees 12 lakh. So here 2 lakh will be considered as gain on sale of building. Next we have loss. So the term conveys two different meanings. Firstly, it conveys the results of a business for a period when total expense exceeds total revenue. So unlike profit, where the total revenue were exceeding the total expense, loss is when the total expenses are exceeding the total gain. For example, if revenues are rupees 2 lakh and expenses are rupees 2 lakh 40,000. So here revenue is amounting to rupees 2 lakh and expenses is 2 lakh 40,000. Loss will be of rupees 40,000. Now second, the loss refers to some fact or activity against which firm receives no benefit. For example, loss can be loss due to fire, loss due to theft, accident, etc. So loss conveys two different meaning. We know when the total expenses exceed the total revenue. Second is when there are some loss due to fire, theft or accident. Next accounting term is purchases. So the term purchases is used only for the purchase of goods in which the business deal. Now why purchase is used for goods? Because goods are meant for resale. So here in case of manufacturing concern, goods means acquiring of raw material for the purpose of conversion into finished products and then it is sold. For example, if a cloth dealer purchases cloth for sale, the clothes so purchased will be called goods. However, if the same cloth dealer purchases furniture for seating the customers, such furniture will not be considered as goods. It will be considered as asset. So when the businessman is purchasing goods for the purpose of resale, it will be called as purchases. And if he is purchasing some other item which is not related to the business, it will be considered as asset. Now there is another term which is called purchases return. Purchases return means when goods purchased are returned to the suppliers, these are known as purchases return. Purchases return is also known by another name, which is return outwards. So whenever there is a term returns outwards, it means purchases return. Next we have sales. So sales means transfer of ownership of goods or services to customers for a price. So the term sale is never used for the sale of asset. Sale means when the goods are sold, it is called sales. Just like purchases, purchasing of goods is considered as purchases. In the same way, sale of goods is considered as sales. Now for example, if a cloth dealer sells clothes, it will be termed as sales. But if the same cloth dealer sells old furniture or typewriter, it will not be termed as sales. Now here also there is a term called sales return. So sale return means when some customers might return the goods sold to them, these are termed as sales return. And sales return are also known by the term returns inwards. Next we have stock or stock in trade. Now what do you understand by the term stock? Stock means it includes the value of those goods which are purchased for reselling and which are lying unsold at the end of accounting period. So goods which are remaining unsold at the end of accounting period is known as stock. Now there are two types of stock. First is opening stock, second is closing stock. Opening stock means the value of goods lying unsold at the beginning of the accounting period. So the goods which are unsold at the beginning of accounting period, it will be known as opening stock, whereas the term closing stock means the value of goods lying unsold at the end of accounting period. It is known as closing stock. Next is inventory. Now the goods which remains unsold at the end of the year in the business concern, it is known as stock, but in manufacturing business, it is considered as inventory. So here in case of manufacture, there can be opening and closing inventory, and these are of four types. First is inventory of raw material. Now it includes the inventory of raw materials purchased for using them in the products manufactured but still lying unused. So here inventory of raw material means anything which is used for the purchase of producing the product but it is still lying unused. For example, the value of cotton in case of cloth mill is inventory of raw material. Now second is inventory of work in progress. Work in progress means the goods in semi-finished form. Such goods need further processing for converting into finished products, but these goods are lying idle. It is known as inventory of work in progress. In case of cloth mills, the value of threads and the unfinished cloth will be the inventory of work in progress. Third is inventory of finished goods. So it includes the inventory of those goods which have been completely processed and are ready for sale, but they are lying unsold at the end of accounting period. Then in case of cloth mill, the value of finished cloth will be the value of inventory of finished goods. And last we have inventory of stock in trade. So it includes the value of those goods which are purchased for reselling. Now next we have trade receivables. So trade receivables refers to the amount receivable on the account of sale of goods or services rendered by the company. Here trade receivables includes debtors and bills receivable. Now what do you understand by the term debtor? Debtor represents those person or firm to whom goods have been sold or services has been rendered on credit and payment has not been received from them. So here we can take the example of debtor. For example, if goods worth rupees 50,000 have been sold to Mohan on credit, now he will continue to remain the debtor of the business as long as he does not make the full payment. So this is known as debtors. Second is bills receivable. So here a bill of exchange becomes bill receivable for the person who draws it and get it back after its acceptance from the drawee. So here the bill receivable is an accounting term of bills of exchange drawn on debtors or received by the way of endorsement from them. Next accounting term is trade payables. So trade payables is just opposite to trade receivables. Here we can say trade payable is the amount payable on account of goods purchased or services taken. So trade payable includes creditors. Creditors means it represents those persons on firms from whom goods have been purchased or services procured on credit and payment has not been made to them. So example of creditors can be, if goods worth rupees 50,000 are purchased from Ram on credit, then he will continue to remain the creditor of the firm as long as the full payment is not made to him. So this is the example of creditor. Second, we have bills payable. A bill of exchange becomes bill payable for the person who accepts it and return it to the drawer. This is known as bills payable. Next accounting term is goods. So goods include all those things which are purchased for resale or which are used for producing the finished products which are also meant to be used. So here we can say, for a furniture dealer, purchase of chairs and table is termed as goods, while for other its furniture is termed as an asset. Similarly, for a stationery trader, stationery is goods, whereas for others it is an expense. Next is cost. So cost can be termed as the amount of resources given up in exchange for some goods or services. So whatever amount is incurred in purchasing the goods is known as cost. Next we have voucher. So voucher is a document which provides the authorization to pay and on the basis of which the business transactions are first of all recorded in the books of account. A separate voucher is prepared for each transaction. As we have already discussed in the qualitative characteristics of accounting, that any account can be verified or it can be reliable when the transactions are recorded from source document. So source document includes voucher. Source document is a proof of recording the transaction. Next we have discount. So discount is basically a rebate or the allowance given by the seller to the buyer. So when a seller sells some goods to the buyer in a reduced rate less than MRP, it is known as that the seller has allowed some discount. Here discount can be of two types, trade discount and cash discount. So trade discount is when the discount is allowed by a seller to its customer at a fixed percentage on the list price of the goods. It is known as trade discount. Now trade discount is not recorded in the books of accounts because it is deducted in the invoice or cash memo itself from the gross value of the goods. So whenever there is trade discount, no transactions relating to the trade discount will be recorded in the books of account. Second is cash discount. So cash discount is allowed to the customers for making prompt payment or fast payment. It is known as cash discount. For example, if a seller allows 2% discount for payment within a week, it will be called a cash discount and it will always be recorded in the books of accounts. Next we have goods and service tax. As we know, goods and service tax are indirect tax. So here all the indirect taxes like custom duty, excise duty, sales tax, VAT, service tax, etc. These all indirect tax have been merged into a single tax which is known as GST, which is goods and service tax. So GST is paid at the time of purchases and GST is collected at the time of sales. So in this session we have discussed about all the important basic accounting terms, and with this we have completed the first chapter of accounting, which is Introduction to Accounting. In the next session, we'll be continuing with the second chapter. That's all for today. Thank you.